In frame and in focus. Click the links for Gab, Odysee, BitChute. Join the Discord. It's a good way to keep in touch as I get removed from various platforms or Sport Channel, Coffee Crypto, the other means. Okay, so what to do about these? What to do about these globalist judges? Hashtag don't Fed post. What's her name? Amy Berman Jackson. What do you do with a judge that's obviously a globalist? And the bigger issue is, what do you do when you have a country that is obviously on a different page in regards to the Constitution? A nation cannot abide globalists. They destroy nations. It's kind of their primary purpose. It's funny, so far the guy who got the longest sentence for J6 is a 60-year-old black guy. For making vaguely non-politically correct statements, but that's another video. He really didn't say anything that deserves being locked up, but they're trying to make an example of everyone, and I'm sure they really wish he wasn't black, but it is what it is. So this house has definitely been destroyed by diversity. Diversity has always been a weakness. It's in the definition of the word. Now, there's no putting that genie back in the bottle. The best thing might just be to go back to a stronger independent states model or split into regions, political or racial identity group regions. You could have towns or counties or just right of center European Americans and different groups for different types of people, different belief systems, just as a way to stop a potential civil war. It's like, just cut it off at the pass, make entire states, entire regions for different groups of people. There's no need to actually go through with a civil war where tens of millions of people would suffer. So you could have like entire states with their own identity group. And no, of course it wouldn't be easy. Of course not. But I also don't think that it would take a civil war, because I think a majority of people actually want to split apart. They want to live in safe areas around their own people. I mean, I don't want to be around these globalists, and I think there's a large percentage of people who would not want to be around them. And it's not like, you form into, half dozen separate countries. It's still a United States. It's just you have different regions for different groups of people. There's a group, the various black identity groups who want to have their own area. It's like, okay, hey, done deal. Let's do that for every group that wants to have their own neighborhoods, their own regions. Absolutely. Like, this concept of integration and like busting neighborhoods back in whenever they started doing that in the 60s, it's like, well, that's been an utter failure. Let's go back to having people have covenants that run with the land, if you know what I mean, if you follow the history of like property law and constitutional law. So when you have a globalist judge, you get different enforcement of laws depending on if you're on the right or left. This is not a situation that is sustainable. It's like the taxation without representation thing, but much worse. It extinguishes your rights without due process. It's tyranny. These judges know it's tyranny. They don't mean well. They don't care. They know that they're the enemies of the people. They consider themselves as, I guess, enemy combatants, but they're not using rifles. They're using, their judicial positions. Obviously, the goal of the J6 issue and all this, it's this follow-up, is to have a chilling effect on free speech. See, what happened to the First Amendment, the right to peacefully assemble? The only people injured during the J6 were the peaceful protesters themselves. Antifa and BLM can riot all they wish for literally the past 10 years, and these filthy globalists will flat out ignore it. But J6 had to be shut down. Now, I am sort of glad that the media government complex removed their mask and just said, hey, screw due process. We're 100% openly anti-white, which they absolutely are. That was the goal of diversity the whole time, to push this kind of narrative. So the J6 protesters had to get destroyed to show people what is really going on. Your country isn't your country anymore. People like Berman or Cohen at the SPLC or Greenblatt at the ADL or the various bankers and big tech companies, they run the country. It's always been the bankers' country. They've just given people the illusion of control as if your vote mattered. Now that the demographics are what they are, they have taken off the mask. Yes, they literally want to delete you and all people of your tribe, if you can read between the YouTube algorithm line of euphemisms. Things are bad, and they're going to get worse. And I'm not advocating anything except constitutionally protected activity. I don't see a way to vote your way out of this. It would take a concerted effort, and it would take people throwing away political correctness and getting this in-group preference, this in-group identity that I don't know how many people are ready for. I'm not sure. People didn't exactly vote their way into this, but they were lazy and kind of allowed it to be stolen. White people seem to think that a system will run itself. It doesn't. If you don't constantly chase out parasites will creep in and seize control. And it's like you get a country where we are right now is because I hate to say white people allowed it, but they did. They allowed it to lose control of the system. Like the system requires constant maintenance. You must constantly oil it and do all that kind of stuff to it. I mean, by that, I mean, you've got to run for school boards, for school superintendent positions, city councils, mayors. You got to go to law school so you can be district attorneys and judges. You got to do all that kind of stuff. And it's like white people for the past few hundred years have just kind of said, oh, the system will run itself. We're all good people. It's like, oh, yeah, but you're not all your people. It's like the country, anyone can come into the country, and any group that has got higher in group preference is going to take over, and it might take 50 years or it might take 200 years, but that's just simple game theory. If you don't have in-group preference and another group does, well, they're going to run all the way over you. And it's like, well, that's what we are right now. We're in 2021. So if this country continues along this path, your grandkids will be slaves, or maybe slaves in all but the equivalent of slaves. Or maybe it'll just turn into like Brazil or South Africa, where you have like fortress towns and fortress communities. It's going to be a third world nation. Like that's a done deal. The best you could hope for now would be, like I said, try to take regions for different identity groups. If different groups wanted to set up, I'm trying to get around the YouTube algorithm. I don't know if it's worth it. There's people in the country right now who do not want to create a country that works. They want to basically turn it into South Africa, which they're absolutely doing. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, support channel on crypto, coffee, or subscribe to Odysee because they have a crypto donation system. It's easier for someone to donate 3 cents than $3. And I will see you guys all next episode.